definitely of the ghosted faction of people in the 2020 election cycle. And, most people still won't affiliate with us. So thank you for coming on. But why don't you talk a little bit about what your most recent experience was in dealing with the Democratic Party in Broward and running in a primary?
So really, what was interesting about the statement that you just made was I was actually running in an open seat, and an incumbent chose to run in that seat, and just really, villainized me and tried to isolate me from others. This all started off with threats. So first, it was threats to get out of the race. Then it was threats to elected officials and friends and people who were supporting me. And then it got real nasty in July, toward the middle of July, where I had 7 attack mailers sent to my district, pretty much labeling me a criminal, saying that I committed fraud, and trying to destroy my integrity and my reputation. And what I thought was crazy about it was the Senate minority leader doing this. And no one ever stepped up to say, hey, that's a Black woman who has built a successful business, who employs 500 people, who's a mother of 3 girls, who, I'm a medical professional. I have an active license to practice in the healthcare arena. And all of us know in Florida, you can't do that if you've been arrested or jailed or done any of those things that I was accused of. So I labeled it.
Barbara, you're automatically suspect if you're a Black woman and you're like self-sufficient and successful. Yes. And know how our local paper, the Sun Sentinel rag that I won't give the time of day, how they decided to portray now Congresswoman Sheila Sherfless McCormick when she actually was able to fund her campaign. And what's so fascinating to me is they don't think twice about getting behind candidates that take corporate money. But you dare have somebody that's able to finance their own race. And they really did put this sort of hint out there like,
it was a dog whistle.
It was bad. And I feel like to some extent, that's what you're talking about. It's like, okay, so if you're successful and you're a Black woman, then we just can't reconcile those things. That just can't be so. And it's pathetic, really.
So as I've gone through my political career, I noticed that in certain races in the Democratic Party, you never get written about in a positive way. I declared to run for this seat back in March, and I can't tell you how many times all of these newspapers, whether it be the Sun Sentinel or the Miami Herald actually was the only newspaper that I ever got a fair shake from in this whole time. And then, of course, you had this paper called the Florida Politics that I truly feel that was being paid to just write negative things and try to impugn my reputation. But I was so shocked that nobody could write something positive and have it out there. So first of all, I was mayor twice of the county. I served on the county commission from 2010 to 2022. January 11th, 2022 was my last day on the county commission. But I served as a Miramar City Commissioner and Vice Mayor prior to that. And I did so much in my 13 years in elected office that my opponent hadn't done in her little 6 years in elected office unopposed. And I served in national positions for the National Association of Counties on the Water Resource Board, 13 years in transportation. I was the first African-American female president of the Florida Association of Counties in its 87-year history in the state of Florida. And I got absolutely zero credit for anything that I'd ever done. I was the chair of the Broward County Task Force for the opioid lawsuit.
Why do you think this is? Like, why do you think that the Dem clubs and like our DEC, and I mean, let's be real, this is a very kind of cliquey, not particularly welcoming This is why I think that they're bound to lose, because when you don't have fair primaries, you don't get to really make people feel enthusiastic about coming out to vote when they feel like somebody was just handed to them. So I think there's a lot of problems, but how were they with this? Like, were you being ghosted by the Dem clubs? Were they, because you had declared to run for this before Lauren was even in this seat race, right?
Correct. I ran for District 35. She was in 32. She chose to get out of her seat in 32 to come down to 35. She didn't want a primary against Dr. Osgood. So she chose to get out of that seat. As the Senate minority leader, she could have run anywhere. Look at all the seats we had open. Pizzo was elected unopposed. Greco, who they told to go into the seat where Pizzo was supposed to be, he dropped out because he didn't have money to run. Everybody could have been elected, and we could have had one more minority in Tallahassee with this seat. But instead, she chose to make a different choice and come down here and run. I didn't have a problem with being primaried. That's the Democratic way, but they villainized me from the start with this whole rumor about how my running was hurting Democrats and my running was taking away money that she could have used for other people. Look, she spent $5 million running against me.
A state Senate race?
First of all, I'm going to take up a collection for Lauren Book as far as money is concerned. That's the thing. I mean,
$5 million for a $30,000 a year position in the Senate where we could have worked as allies, and then turned around, trashed me, and then said, I'm sorry it had to be this way. And by the way, she should have called me on election night. I said, excuse me? I should call somebody who's been trashing me, who I sued because they're trying to ruin my reputation. I'm not calling her. I'm in an active lawsuit. That was this whole thing has been idiotic from the beginning. And I said it was asinine. Some of the stuff that they talk about, some of the stuff she says makes no sense whatsoever. From the time that I started running in this race, I knew that it wasn't going to be something that was an easy race, but I never expected that she would be spending $5 million and then blaming me and saying I shouldn't run. I had people from her campaign standing up and saying to me things like, you lost in the congressional race. So people don't like you enough to elect you, that you shouldn't run for anything else. I thought, wow, that's amazing to hear from the Democratic Party and people involved in the party at such a high level, because Barack Obama ran for Congress and lost, ran for state Senate and won, for U.S. Senate and won, and then turned around and became president of the United States. There's no Democratic president that has run for office and not lost. I mean, I didn't understand the rationale behind any of that.
I feel like the Democrats really sold you out. Like, I feel like you have been somebody that has been in the arena here for a really long time and has a record that you can stand on. And the fact that they just completely, not that I'm at all surprised. I feel like, and then I see all the pictures, of course, look, we have our own issues with a lot of those people, but when I see them posting pictures at the Lauren Book watch party and how they're all so excited and all high-fiving each other. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, these are heads of our Democratic clubs that absolutely have no regard for the primary process whatsoever. And it's disgusting to me. And I can look, you had the head of the Broward Young Dems, you had the head of the Dolphin Dems, you had all of those people all standing there and all happy like their candidate won. Wake up, people. You weren't entitled to really have a candidate until after the primary. And certainly, yes, we vote for who we vote for, but they shouldn't be promoting that as part of the party. It's really not proper.
Isn't it disturbing? Not only that, but I was excluded from meetings. I was not invited to meetings where they invited my opponent to.
I forwarded everything I got to you, well, to him.
Yeah. And then when I called to say, hey, what's going on? Why can't I be a speaker? No response back. Some of them just flat out said, no, I couldn't because they had their schedules full. Speaking events, rallies, things like that. I mean, like, I thought that the level of disrespect was so much that I just felt like, what am I doing here, running and with this party that's saying to me that they get to pick and choose winners and losers in a primary. A Democratic club is not supposed to endorse in a primary election, yet you had club presidents out there promoting Lauren Book. You had them doing walks. I feel like if you're in a primary election in the Democratic Party, you should be neutral until that primary is over. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what our rules dictate, but that's not what happened in my primary.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.